Discover the amazing features of Adobe Podcast and learn how to create professional-grade audio recordings. Get ready for an in-depth exploration of this powerful tool and don't miss out. Are you looking to create professional-grade audio recordings? Well, look no further than Adobe Podcast. In this video, we're going to be exploring its powerful features like transcription, AI-powered sound filtering, noise reduction, and ambient sound libraries, all of which will help you make your audio recordings sound amazing. Not only that, but we'll also be looking at the downsides of using Adobe Podcast, including the costs and some other potential drawbacks. Whether you're a pro or just starting out, this video will have something for you, so get ready for an in-depth exploration on Adobe Podcast. Subscribe to Oracle AI and stay tuned to learn more about Adobe Podcast and how it can help you create professional-grade audio recordings. Adobe Podcast offers a lot of features to help you make your audio recordings sound professional. You can use transcription and AI-powered sound filtering, and the user interface is easy to navigate and control. You can also quickly apply edits like removing background noise or cutting out sections from conversations. And there's a library of ambient sounds that can add life and vibrancy to any raw recording track. But as with all these great tools, how can you encourage budding producers to take responsibility when creating content? Adobe Podcast has a lot of great features for content creators, but are there any potential drawbacks to consider? For example, the AI sound filter does a great job at getting rid of background noise in recordings, but it might not always pick up on context or nuances. Another thing to think about is that Adobe Podcast requires users to buy licenses and shares revenue from ads on its platform. This can mean extra costs that some independent broadcasters can't afford or don't think is worth it if they don't have the kind of money. If that's the case, they may want to look into free audio production software alternatives. So while Adobe Podcast can be really helpful, others should think about all the pros and cons before making a decision. Ultimately, it's up to the user to decide if the needs meet their needs and if it's worth the money they have to spend on a subscription. Aside from the points mentioned earlier, you should also consider whether Adobe Podcast is the right fit for you in terms of cost and usability. The software is designed to create professional-sounding audio recordings, so it may not be suitable for simple edits or minor projects. Additionally, some features like sharing your podcast with a larger audience can only be accessed if you're one of Adobe's paid plans, so make sure to check out what each subscription offers before buying it. One final thing to note is that when using Adobe Podcast, if you need an internet connection at all times to use any part of the service. This can be a problem if you're traveling abroad or even just going into remote locations locally where there may not be reliable network coverage available. In summary, Adobe Podcast is a valuable tool for experienced producers familiar with digital workflows, but how do you get up to speed quickly about understanding best practice principles before producing content efficiently via this platform? What tips would you give someone who's new to Adobe Podcast and wants to quickly become an experienced producer? Noise reduction is one of Adobe Podcast's most useful features. To reduce background noise, you can use the noise reduction tool, which detects and eliminates any unwanted audio from your recordings. It also offers presets for common types of noises like winds or computer hums, making it easier to target specific sounds without manually adjusting each frequency band. Experimenting with these settings until you're happy with how much noise has been removed while still preserving essential parts of the recording itself, like dialogue in a podcast interview or instrumentation during an acoustic performance. It's important to keep contextual sound elements intact while reducing background noise. Removing too much can drastically change the overall feel of a track rather than just quieting down what might be perceived as noisy moments. So it's key to find balance between clarity and subtlety. How can producers use Adobe Podcast AI-based tools to achieve natural sounding backgrounds in their podcast? Noise reduction is important to creating quality audio, and Adobe Podcast makes it easier. The noise reduction tool can detect unwanted audio in your recordings quickly and accurately, and then apply a filter to produce background noise like winds or computer hums that you might not notice. The best practice is to experiment with these settings until you're happy with how much noise has been removed, while still keeping important parts like instrumentation during performances or dialogue from interviews. But reducing the background noise isn't enough when creating professional sounding content. Producers also need to adjust frequency levels, pitch, gain values, and etc. To help make precise sound adjustments quickly, Adobe Podcast provides AI-based tools with sliders directly on each track, so you don't need extra plugins if you don't want them. This helps make all the necessary modifications without too many confusing sound effects layered into one mix, which could otherwise make it sound cheap instead of polished, all within a few clicks. Quality adjustments are essential for making sure your project sounds great every time you finish an episode. So after getting comfortable with noise reduction techniques through Adobe Podcast, what advice would experienced users give to newbies about mastering advanced quality adjustment features? Now that you've set the quality of your audio using Adobe Podcast, it's time to start editing and exporting. When combining multiple tracks for a podcast or recording project, you can use tools like track automation and drag and drop timeline functions within Adobe Podcast to make quick edits. You can also add reverberation effects to fine-tune elements like reverb decay times and echo chamber sounds, which offer more creative options when creating soundscapes from scratch. Once you've finished editing your recordings with Adobe Podcast's powerful features, consider mastering them quickly with the online mastering tool. This tool provides adjustable EQ parameters and a loudness maximization feature that allows you to level out your mix accordingly before releasing it online. This helps ensure the optimal listening experiences on any optimal device while preserving crystal clear clarity like low frequency content at lower volumes across various streaming services like Apple Music or Spotify. Now that everything is ready for export into MP3 file formats, what tips do experienced podcasters have for producers regarding storage requirements and file optimization? Experienced podcasters, what are your tips for having producers regarding storage requirements and file optimization before exporting into MP3 format files? Leave a comment with your answer below. When you get the hang of using Adobe Podcast for editing and exporting audio, you can use more advanced tools like automated mastering. This feature allows you to analyze your entire mix with one click, automatically collecting various ranges and correcting them across the spectrum without manual adjustments. It also offers various preset configurations tailored to different genres and styles, making fine-tuned sound modification easier than ever. Furthermore, when learning about how to best utilize this platform, there's plenty of helpful online documentation from official sources as well as user-generated material shared on blogs or that provide valuable insights into working efficiently in this software environment. YouTube tutorials are particularly useful here too. Taking the time to assess all available resources definitely pays dividends if it not only helps reduce overwhelm but also cuts down production times by facilitating a smoother workflow overall, resulting in higher levels of creativity throughout the process. Another great way to improve your understanding is joining an existing podcasting community through websites like Reddit or Twitter. Conversations between other established producers help you quickly gain clarity around complex topics, while providing guidance directly related to specific questions associated with content creation via Adobe Podcast itself. But no matter who you interact with virtually, friendship networks inevitably evolve over long periods, made possible thanks to emerging digital spaces created these days, allowing podcasters to find encouragement and support to use properly understood platforms in order to begin creating incredible sounding recordings. So after researching and exploring many options for furthering your knowledge and understanding about Adobe Podcast, what is the next step that someone should take to make sure they get the most benefit from any educational source coming their way? Troubleshooting common issues with Adobe Podcast can be tricky, so it's important to have some resources to refer back to. Fortunately, there's lots of helpful video tutorials available online that help you take your skills up a notch and easily overcome complex problems. For example, YouTube channels like Creative COW Tutorials provide detailed insights on topics like creating custom sounds or mastering tracks in Adobe Podcast, perfect for those who prefer visual learning methods. Adobe's official help page is also a great resource for fixing common issues. It offers comprehensive guides with step-by-step instructions as well as related data fields necessary for troubleshooting located entirely within each guidepost. This makes resolving errors easier and provides a better user experience as it allows for quicker resolutions no matter what kind of challenge comes your way. Plus, this centralized source provides cross-technical support information regarding different tools under one singular umbrella, encompassing fan-favorite go-to shows and movies worldwide. It also offers access to troubleshooting team webinars, enabling better understanding and deepening opportunities. However, understanding all these options during anything tech-based isn't always fast enough or navigable without first spending much time identifying them. When logic fails, testing via real-life scenarios often proves successful too. So what approaches do people use when nothing seems feasible and finding quality solutions quickly? No matter how experienced you are with Adobe Podcast, technical issues can still arise from time to time. That's why it's essential for producers to familiarize themselves with the software and its common problems before getting started on their projects. Knowing which solutions work best for each issue saves you valuable time when troubleshooting later on. For extra assurance when working with tight deadlines or in challenging computing environments like live performances, establishing an emergency toolkit complemented by other free audio production alternatives found online. This ensures flexibility and helps you avoid unexpected setbacks during post-production sessions. Your toolkit should include recommended hardware setups, support file formats, and interchange crossovers compatibility between different versions, all ready to go if needed. This gives you more confidence than having one sole product suddenly without resolution points at your disposal mid-session. Plus, with additional resources and tips often appearing directly within Adobe Podcast blogs, there's even more insight available at our fingertips these days. So what else can we do via external research sources and proactive approaches outside of any complications emerging prior to hitting record to make sure your projects come out just right? Adobe Podcast is a great tool for experienced producers who want to create professional sounding audio recordings. It has a range of libraries like noise reduction, AI-powered sound filtering, ambient sound libraries, and adjustable EQ parameters. It also offers online mastering tools to level out your mix accurately before releasing it online. Before using Adobe Podcast, producers should consider the cost and usability, as well as the need for internet connection at all times. Experienced users recommend familiarizing oneself with the software and its common problems, as well as creating an emergency toolkit with free audio production alternatives to ensure flexibility and avoid unexpected setbacks. Luckily, there's a lot of helpful resources available online, like official documentation, YouTube tutorials, and conversations with other producers that help you get up to speed quickly about understanding best practice principles behind producing content efficiently via this platform. Are you ready to take your audio production to the next level? Well, in the next video, you'll learn all about the powerful new Stable Diffusion AI technology and how it can help you create amazing audio recordings. Don't miss out. Watch the next video now and get the inside scoop on how to create the most out of this amazing and cutting-edge technology.